Hey friends, James here. So in my 401k, I discovered recently that there was one setting that if I had not changed would have cost me $328,000 profit. That's money to my name for my future self. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how I found it and how I fixed it. But before I do that, I've already talked to you in this channel about how I was nearly bankrupt and I got to myself to financial independence in about 10 years. And I've showed you exactly how I've done that, my saving strategy, how I made more money. And now, as promised, I'm going to show you my current portfolio breakdown that is enabling me to become retired early when I'm ready. I could do it right now. And exactly how I taught myself investing and what I have now. Now, this comes from my personal life, my personal experience, a whole decade of trial and error. This isn't crap I found on ChatGPT, so I hope it's useful to you. And I'm confident that if you followed something similar to this, you'll slowly be laying down the building blocks of building a financial nest egg that acts as a money tree that's going to drop you the money from its branches that you can use to live on without needing a paycheck anymore. I'm not a professionally trained financial advisor. I've just learned through a lot of trial and error, and I hope this is useful to you. So let's dive right in. So after a decade of working into the tech meat grinder, I'm finally ready to exit to an early retirement. But I'm going to tell you, it's a lot less about what I own, but more about how I manage it and how I find what to invest in. So when you're doing research into stocks and what you should put your investment money into, you got to understand what the news is. And I'm going to throw the news under the bus for a second here. The news isn't just these nice people giving you updates on current events. It is a business. It has profits it has to make. It has employees it needs to pay. And the way it generates those profits is through advertisement. When you read a financial news website, you see these annoying blinking banners on the left and right. You got to skip the ads all the freaking time. Those companies are paying big bucks to have their message put on these financial websites, which means for the financial websites to actually lure and entice these advertisers to be on their website, they have to have lots of traffic to their websites, right? And if they just gave you boring financial advice of just kind of current events, they're not going to get any traffic because humans just love the dirt. They love the Jerry Springer drama act, and that drama just drives clicks. It just does. So that's why every other YouTube video you see on YouTube has some guy going, ooh, with red flames behind his head saying, oh, Nvidia about ready to crash. Should you sell? And because they want to stir up that emotion in you. This is where you have to be careful, okay? So we have to get our information from somewhere, right? How else are we going to get it if it's not on the internet? But when you're looking at these sites, understand there's a difference between noise, like these catastrophizing situations that they're just trying to inflate to just get you to click, and the actual real good stuff that you can use to make some intelligent investing decisions. And if you do this type of research right, you're going to sleep like a baby. You're not going to worry if the market went up and down or if your stocks are safe because you know you've made the right choices. And that is why you must do your own research. You can't just get onto Wall Street bets and read something or take a hot tip from a friend. Oh, you got to get on such and such stock. They're about to go public. Never do that without doing due diligence. That hot tip may be right, but you have to prove it right or wrong. Because if you didn't do that, if you didn't know with a high degree of certainty that where your money is safe, it's going to keep growing, what's going to happen is when a market correction happens, and it does happen, it's always going to happen, it's just part of the process, you're going to panic sell. You're like, oh my God, I saw this video of Nvidia's going down, sell, sell, sell. And then when you panic sell, you're going to think, oh my God, I better get my money out. It was $100,000 last week. Now it's down to $75,000. The week after that, maybe it's down to $50,000. And if I don't sell all my money, sell my stock, then it's going to go all the way down to $10,000, maybe even zero. I'll lose all my money. So I better sell now. So you sell when you're minus $50,000, and all you did is lock in $50,000 worth of losses. If you do your homework properly, this should very rarely happen, okay? So when I'm doing my research into where I put my money into, I've kind of formulated over the years these two golden rules. Rule number one is only research companies in a sector you think will grow. What do I mean by that? The entire US economy is made up of these huge sectors of the whole economy. So if the whole economy is an ocean, there's these little Great Lakes in each one of these oceans, or big areas in the ocean, right? You've got technology, which I invest in. You've got healthcare, real estate, professional and business services, healthcare and social assistance, government. You've got technology, which is what I'm invested in. You've got wholesale and retail trade. Of all those things, some of those have better prospects in the next 10 years of growing than others. And you want to put your money into something that is going to grow and get bigger, right? Right. So if you do your research like I have done, you're probably going to find that of all these sectors, technology is predicted to grow the fastest because we got AI, because of smartphones, because every damn thing we use these days needs an app to operate it, even the flipping microwave. And technology is just growing and growing and growing, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. So now you know that that sector is a good sector, right? So you've decomplexified the gargantuan ocean, and now you're at least going to narrow down your thinking and your research into this one little pocket, technology, or whatever sector you think you want to put your money in. It doesn't always have to be tech. That's just what I do. So now that you've determined a sector, what do? So there's a couple things you could do at this point. You could just buy an index that represents the entire sector. So what is an index fund? Index fund is like a basket that has a lot of companies in it. They're popular because they're low cost. They have diversification built into them, right? You don't have to pick the 500 companies that's going to go into there. It's already picked for you. And it's a very good choice for new investors, even super seasoned investors, because it's just so damn easy. Now, some of the funds that I picked, a fund called VGT, and I love VGT, and VGT has just crushed it for me. There are other funds that represent the entire tech sector. Okay, I'm going to read some because there's a lot. You got something called XLK. This is the Technology Select Sector Spider Fund. You've got one called FTEC. This is pretty similar to VGT. You've got another one that's very popular called the Triple Qs, the QQQ. Now this tracks the NASDAQ 100 index, which is mostly the tech sector of the United States. And this is also a really good one that I have a fair amount of money in, SMH. So this is, okay, you got the Pacific Ocean, right? One little lake is the tech sector, and then in that tech sector is like Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, and all these other things. And even in with that thing, there's another specialty ETF that just does semiconductors. Well, that's SMH. And semiconductors are kind of like the new gasoline fueling the industrial revolution of 150 years ago. All AI engines and brains currently today are using semiconductors as their fuel. Semiconductors is what's making the processing speed faster and faster and faster and faster. And that's why semiconductors are in such high demand and their profits are growing and growing and growing. And SMH is a great one if you want to just focus on semiconductors. So that's my general strategy. So to recap, find out which sectors are going to grow. Do your own research. You're just going to have to get a trained eye to know what's clickbait, what's some catastrophizing BS, or what is actual legitimate information. I really like Yahoo Finance, and I'll put a link in the description. You'll see these really good ratings on what you should buy, and it breaks everything down by sector, what's growing. And there's a video section, not the article, but there's a video section that has excellent analysts in there. Now, these analysts are people who do this for a living. They're not YouTubers. They don't care about clickbait. They're using all the data they can to back this up, and they're trying to predict the future outcomes of these things. And generally, while nobody has a crystal ball, they're pretty good at this. And that's another technique I use is I don't have to be an analyst. I just have to analyze the analysts, where I get what I believe is real credible information. Another one I like is Zacks, Z-A-C-K-S. It's a simple app you can use. Another app I like is Autopilot. Sometimes you just want to copy what the best do. So on Autopilot, you can see what Nancy Pelosi is invested in. Now, we all know her for her political career, but what you may or may not know is she's one of the most successful investors in the history of the United States. I mean, her annual growth is obscene, like 20, 30, 40%. And she's been doing that year after year after year after year for such a long time. And she just crushes the standard S&P 500. You can look exactly what she is investing in by using this app called Autopilot. There's another site that I like called Datarama. Datarama shows you exactly what's in Warren Buffett's portfolio. Now, Warren Buffett is another legendary investor, so you don't have to do the research Warren Buffett and his billion-dollar company does to figure out where to put the money in. Just see what they have in. Now, so far I've told you Yahoo Finance, Zacks, Nancy Pelosi's portfolio, Warren Buffett's portfolio, and there's a lot of other things, but these are kind of my go-tos. And another go-to is I've been using AI a lot. So I've got a lot of money in NVIDIA. Well, yeah, I get scared just like anybody else. I've just trained myself not to panic sell. But when I see articles that say things like, oh, NVIDIA's overbought, NVIDIA has trouble from DeepSeek, NVIDIA's people think that they're overvalued, and then the stock goes down because of a bunch of stupid articles. More recently, at the time of this video, Michael Burry, the guy who had a movie made about him called The Big Short, he's famous for predicting the housing market would crash and then putting bets on the fact that it would crash, and just became a zillionaire because of that. He recently said AI is a bubble and he's shorting the market. So everyone's like, oh, Michael Burry said that. Okay, sure. Very smart guy. But what I do is I have an ongoing thread in ChatGPT called NVIDIA validation, something like that. And what I do with this is every time I see some stupid news article, I say, hello, ChatGPT. Here's an article that I saw the other day, and here's a bunch more like it, and the market has dipped such and such percent. Please cross-reference this with other information, giving me the actual real health of the company, and then tell me if I should sell or if it's just noise. Every single time so far the entire year, it's done that for me, and it said NVIDIA is still incredibly strong. They have a massive amount of orders. They're one of the most profitable, if not the most profitable company in the entire world. They're growing their infrastructure. They're expanding into markets. So there's nothing wrong with NVIDIA fundamentally. So why the hell should I panic sell when I see or read all these articles with all these levels of validation? Well, I don't panic sell. I sleep like a baby because I don't give crap if Michael Burry predicts it's going to drop, or somebody says AMD is going to wipe NVIDIA off the face of the earth with their new technology. It doesn't matter to me because I've validated that it's just fine. So my second rule, and ironically only works if you do what I just said for rule number 1, which is always remain confident and sleep like a baby during market downturns. Look, the stock market goes up and down like this. What happens is economic conditions are good, so it goes up. And when economic conditions are good, people buy more stock. And fundamentally, if you're not aware, stocks go up when people buy it. A lot of people buy it. Stocks go down when a lot of people sell it. So it is 100% human beings driving the stock market, okay? But what typically happens with these ups and downs is some economic catastrophe happened. You had the crash of 1929. Maybe we went to war as a country. Maybe a housing bubble crash. There's all kinds of weird ass things that make it go up and down. In fact, I heard the other day that when Osama bin Laden got taken out by Obama with our special forces, the stock market went up for some reason. And during 9/11, it went down for some reason. When at scale, those issues really had nothing to do with the gargantuan economic United States machine. So a bunch of weird ass reasons, but it goes up and down. But generally what happens is cooler heads prevail. And when something goes down, people like me are like, well, wait a second. Yeah, that was an event. I get it. But is there anything fundamentally wrong with A, the sector I chose, or B, the companies I chose within the sector? And when you do your research, like I'm doing, you should have a high degree of confidence that it's okay. Therefore, when you see the stock market going up and down like this for all these times, if you don't panic sell at the dips, I'm just drawing in the air here, what you're going to see is a straight line. So you put in a bunch of money here, whatever it is, and then 50 years from now, you're going to have that much money, and it's a lot. But what you have to do is not emote, not react to these ups and downs, and just let it go. And that is honestly the hardest part about investing, is not reacting. And if you do what I do, you're going to sleep like a baby. I don't overreact because I have my redundancy system. I know how to read news articles that aren't clickbait. I know how to analyze the best analysts. I'm going to put a bunch of links in the description. You can just do that if you want to. I watch what the best investors are doing, and then I use AI. So with all these things, and there's more other things that I do, a bunch of small things too. I'm like, I don't care if you want to make a YouTube video with flames behind your head and they go, oh, market's going to pop. I laugh because I got so much other evidence by the best predictors and the best models in the world that tell me that everything's fine. Now, that said, let's just say you're doing all this research and you start to see, hey, there's some companies in my portfolio that are kind of losing their touch. They're losing market share, their technology's bad, and they're just slowly been going down. Then you have to think, maybe I do want to sell that company. But here's the funny thing. The index funds, like I talked about, they take care of that for you. The only challenge with, it's not a problem, it's just how you strategize. The index funds, because there's so many companies in there, you're never going to get a moonshot with an index fund. Like this one I use called VGT. Yeah, it's done really well. In fact, VGT has done, let me look at Google here, Vanguard Information Technology Fund ETF, otherwise known as VGT, has had an annualized return of 22.97% over the 10 years. Folks, that is effing epic. That will make anybody a fortune. However, NVIDIA has had an annualized return of approximately 74% over 10 years. And some other companies that are just these outliers, like penny stocks and stuff, I've seen like thousands of percent over 10 years, which is awesome. But picking the right company that's going to go to the moon like that is really, really hard to do. So what you might want to consider that I do is I have most of my money in an index fund, because that's going to protect you because it's diversified. And if one company tanks, you're okay. If one company goes to the moon, that's only going to help you. But if you had, let's say, a big number, $500,000 in VGT, okay, you're going to get that 22% every year. At least that's what it's been for the past decade. Now you take that same $500,000 and you put it in NVIDIA. Yeah, you might go to the moon. You might make more money than you could ever dream of because of that 74% a year interest rate. But it's really, really tough. Not impossible, but really, really tough. It requires an enormous amount of research to cherry pick companies like that. So here's what I do. Most of my stuff is in the index fund because I'm trying to make money, I ain't trying to lose money, right? But I'm also playing it a little bit aggressive because I want those good returns like that 22%. I'm not going to be happy with 5%. I might as well just put it in my checking account, okay? I would say 80%, maybe even about 85% of my stuff is in this VGT. Now, that remaining 15% of my portfolio, I'm willing to take more risk with that. That's the part where I really do my homework and I'm going for a moonshot. So I had to get up my Robinhood here. So NVIDIA in the past 5 years in total has gone up 1,400.70% at the time of this video. Friends, that's just freaking insane. If you did your research, you can find a company like that. You can find the next NVIDIA, but you got to really, really look for it. And you never want to put all your money in something like NVIDIA because you can very easily lose all that money. So you take a small amount and you do the best educated guess you can. So while I'm in my Robinhood, I will just read you exactly what I have my money in. I have VGT, I have NVIDIA. I have AVGO. Those are both semiconductor stocks. I have Palantir, which is a new AI type of stock. This one's been doing really well for me. Something called AppLovin. It's a type of AI marketing tool. And then there's a little bit into VOO. I have about 5% in Tesla. I have about 5% in Shopify. I have about 20% of my stuff in Google. A little bit in CrowdStrike, which is a cybersecurity company. And then I have a fair amount in Robinhood stock. Hood stock, HOOD, has done quite well this year. And then I have a couple in the energy sector, the energy that is required to support the AI boom, right? And I'm doing some crazy speculative moonshots. I don't put much money into these, into quantum computing. So I have RGTI, which is one of the fastest growing stocks in the past year. And then I have another small amount in QUBT. That's another quantum computing stock. And then the rest of it is my 401k at my job. And that one is VIGIX. So you've got a good earning sector. In the good earning sector, you've got good earning ETFs that have a broad representation of the whole sector. And then even within your ETFs, you've got companies that you are picking yourself using your research that could dramatically outperform the index funds. So as promised, what about this $328,000 mistake I almost made in my 401k? Well, my friends, a lot of people don't understand this. So a 401k is like a bucket. It's just a container that holds things. What's inside of the container is what's really, really important. Some people think, oh, my 401k earned such and such. It didn't really. What it earned was the stocks inside the 401k. So I worked at my tech job for about 10 years, and it was about year 2 where I thought I was starting to teach myself investing. I started to know about returns and all this stuff. So one day I logged into my account and I cracked it open. And I looked in there. I was like, whoa. So my 401k is like 40 different funds that my money could be in, those index funds I talked about. And some of them are earning dog crap. They're earning like 5% a year, which is barely any better than my checking account. But some of them are like, whoa, what's this other one? Earning 13, 14, 15% a year on average. Well, there's this big long list and there's all these checks about where you want your money go to. So I looked at that top one and it was that VIGIX one and I expanded. I'm like, whoa, what the heck? Microsoft, Apple, Meta, NVIDIA, Tesla, these are all like the companies that are supposed to be going to the moon over the next decade. And no wonder it's earning so much money. So all I did is uncheck that lame ass one that I was defaulted into. I was defaulted into something called Vanguard 2035 because that's when my company guessed I was going to retire. And they had me defaulted into that thing because it's super duper safe and they're never going to default into anything risky. But the problem is, I've talked to so many of my friends at my job. No one has done what I've done. They've never gone in there and clicked out of that terrible Vanguard retirement fund that only earns themselves 5% a year. And you want to hear something really sad. I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day. She's been at this company almost 25 years and and she makes good money. The whole entire time she's had it checked in that Vanguard one earning 5%. She didn't do what I did about 8 years ago, which is check that other one, that VIGIX. And I bet she cost herself $1 million. I am not exaggerating because the difference between earning 5% a year on your money, and we're talking about people maxing out their 401ks, right? So 18 to 20, even $25,000 a year. The difference between putting in $25,000 every single year, earning 5% versus that same amount of money earning 50% is astronomical. In fact, I have 2 compound interest calculators. I'm going to show you the difference is right now. So let's just say, because we're not going to add in all her other wealth and the value of her home and all this crap. We're just going to say 20 years ago, she started with zero. And then she put in $20,000 a year in her 401k. And because she had it in this really safe fund, now today she has $779,854.53. That's great. That's a lot of money, right? But what if she did what I did 8 years ago and all she did is unclick that super safe default thing and didn't know any better? None of my coworkers are going in and looking at this. They're not changing it. And if she just did that one click and then she earned this other interest rate, which you see from the screenshot has been very consistent, 17% every single year. And she did the same thing, put that $20,000 in and then did it over 20 years, she would have $3,042,770,000. My friend, this is so heartbreaking. Just let $2.2 million slip through her fingers because she didn't just do a click from one box to another box. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, my friends. If you work and you have a 401k, the 401k is nothing but a damn bucket. You got to go into the bucket and see what's in there and see the returns. And you have to decide, do you want to make better returns or safe returns? I know the fund I have in is technically considered more risky, but I don't care. I will take that risk to make that kind of money as opposed to making some measly 5% on my money, 6-7% over the next 20 years. I mean, it's more risky to let $2.2 million slip through your fingers than it is to just, I want to make certain I get my $600,000. Folks, we're talking big, big money here, but almost everyone in America has a 401k. And if you're very frugal, I think you're in a good spot to max it out every single year. So the numbers I'm showing you are very realistic. But you have to have it in the right fund. So, my friends, that is my basic breakdown of my portfolio. The cherry on top is my 401k hack that made me way more freaking money than it would have if I didn't go in down there and look into my 401k and modify it to what I thought was going to make more money. So whatever you do, please, 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 if you do anything else, as soon as you're done listening to me, go into your 401k, see what your money is into, and look at the returns and compare it. And you decide if you want to make something that is more risky and making you more money, or if you want to keep it into that super safe thing that your company probably has you defaulted in. So that's today's video. I hope it was useful to you. If you like what I'm doing here, like and subscribe. I share my real stories here. I don't just regurgitate stuff I find on the internet. Thank you so much. Jamie out.